That not only in Eilam HaBriya, which is which Briya, Yetzira, Asiya, are compared to thought, speech, and deed. Machshava, Dibur, Maisa. The relationship between the three worlds is as the relationship between thought, speech, and deed. One is more spiritual than the other in the person himself, and then you have Atzilus, which is higher, completely removed from it. Which this is also, as Chassidus explains, especially in Pascha Liyo, that you have the 10 spheres, are the 10 keiches hanefesh, the 10 attributes, character traits in the neshama, and then you have the three worlds are considered the three garments of the neshama, machshava, dibur, maisa, which the garments are considered already concealing on the revelation. On the other hand, when it comes to the character traits, they actually express the functions of the traits of the midas of the person. Chesed, Gvura, V'chulo, Tiferes. On the other hand, when it comes to the garments, they are considered already not vessels, they're considered garments. The difference between vessels and garments are vessels reveal, garments conceal. And therefore in vessels it's considered, although it's called islapshus, but it reveals. It's like a limb that reveals the function of what is in the limb. The eyes reveal the vision, the function, allow the function of the vision. There are the ears, the hearing, because these kalim are custom made for these traits. On the other hand, when it comes to the garments, a garment is something which covers up on the person. Same thing also, machshava dibur maisa, in comparison to the neshama, it is considered concealing. So B'meila, then the Rebbe continues that not only in Eilam HaBriya, it stands, the neshama is in a level of bitul, in a state of nullification, even in the world of Yetzira, which is already closer to the creation, and therefore it also is acclimated in the neshama, the idea of becoming more inyan of a creation, which means from godliness becoming a creation. This is the inyan of the neshama. See, the Rebbe is using different words here. In Briya, the Rebbe says the Lashon Beire HaNeshamas. In Yetzira, the Rebbe says Yetzer HaNeshamas. Forming. This is already the state, at that level, it's already the status of Yetzira. Eilam HaYetzira. Since it's Eilam HaYetzira, we're talking about Yetzer HaNeshamas, which is already accomplishing an additional formation in the neshama, which is not on the higher level. So the Rebbe says even then, the neshama still stands in a state of nullification. And the same thing is also when it finds itself in the Eilam Asiyah. The Lashon is Eisa Neshamas. Asiyah. That even there it's also a state of nullification. Since the neshama l'mayla, when it stands and it finds itself before a descent, she's not an entity for itself. Afshi mitzias nivra. See the lashon, she is a mitzias nivra because she's a neshama already. Avali betela legamri lemisha barachol. Although she is a mitzias, an entity of a creation, but she stands in a state of nullification. It's al derech, like we see in Eilam HaBriya. In Eilam HaBriya, the Friedrich Rebbe says in the Maimech, 1946 or 47, Tafshin Vov, Tafshin Zayin. He says that what is the union of Eilam HaBriya? Eilam HaBriya means, the Lashon is Bitl HaYesh. So he says, what's mean Bitl HaYesh? There's no Yesh in Briya. He says, Kol Yeshusehu, that he's bottle. His whole Metzias is that he stands in the level of nullification. Which means he's not a Yesh yet. A Yesh is in this physical world. But he stands on a level of nullification. Which this is the Aveda of Eilam HaBriya, because it's just a potential for Metzias, potential for creation. But the creation actually, then there is Yetzira and Asiyah, the lower worlds. Now let's not forget that Rabbi is speaking here about every neshama. In neshamas itself, there's also different groups. There's neshamas that are called neshamas d'Atzilus. There are neshamas that are called neshamas de Biyah. And the neshamas of Biyah are called Zera Behema. Zera Behema says to animal souls, animal offspring. They the lashon that they come from there on a level of animal. As the Alter Rebbe explains, what is the reason for that? Because they don't have the union of the intuition, the union of das. The intuition, the union of das, that it should function in its fullest way, this is only by higher neshamas, by greater neshamas, neshamas of Atzilus. And as the Rebbe Rashav says in the Maimer, the neshamas of Atzilus is or achad bedore or zwei. Aziz Allah. Could be one or two in a generation. So b'meila, this is neshamas of Atzilus, neshamas of Bia. So the question is, all the neshamas go through Atzilus. As the Rebbe says it here. So the Chayra, why are these called Neshama Atzilus? These are called Neshamas the Bia. The difference is that the Neshamas of Eilam Atzilus, as they are in Atzilus, they come down here Lamata, without any interference. There's no interference, there's no acclamation, there's no changes, nothing. It just passes through. It's called Derech Mavir. Neshamas of Eilam Bia have to go through different stations, and not only stations, they become acclimated to that level. And Memela, this brings a certain degradation in their spiritual status.
So how come the body could take this neshama?
Which are Atzilus?
No, the body of neshama.
Of Neshama Atzilus, because the guf is also a special guf. It's a guf Kodesh V'Toyer. But when we come to the union of Eilam as Bia, and the neshama comes down, the zera behema, the ones that come down, the neshama is already more acclimated to the lower world because it went through everything and it went through Islapshus. Because it goes through Islapshus, it's completely a different situation. And with this, there's a lot of answers that are given, given to many different questions. I think the question that the Alter Tzemach Tzedek explains it in Eratei Shmini. Yain v'Sheichar al Teisht. He explains over there why is it that there are certain mitzvahs that never took place. The Alter Rebbe writes it in Kuntras Acharin. The Alter Rebbe brings examples, and the Rebbe once asked, how come he doesn't bring the examples that are mentioned in Gemara? Ira Nedachas, Seirer Umeira. There's an opinion that says Seirer Umeira never happened. Then there's another one that disputes, says, I sat on his grave. There was such a mitzvah. That Gemara says in Sanhedrin. Mashen can Ira Nedachas says, Lehoya v'leiyah, Lehoya v'leiyah, well, Lehoya, it didn't happen. So the Alter Rebbe explains in Kuntras Acharin, the reason is because these mitzvahs are mitzvahs that they have a sheidish l'mayla, but it's a sheidish also here. But lemato, there's no achiza, there was no channel through which this mitzvah should come down begashmias, in a physical fulfillment. Al derech, like we find it also in Nigla, we find l'moshel Mechemes HaMolik. So the Rebbe discusses, what is the name of Mechemes HaMolik? It's not shayach bisman hazeh. So the Rebbe says, not that it's not a mitzvah. The mitzvah is there. It's only mitzvah certain conditions. We don't know who's Amalek. So therefore, it's not shaykh to fulfill the mitzvah in a practical sense. So the Tzemach Tzedek explains, this is the difference if it's mavir or islapshus. It's mavir, it's there l'mayla, the mitzvah, but it's not mislabish in a way that we can point and say, here, this is a situation where this mitzvah could be fulfilled. Like Iran Edachas. The Alter Rebbe brings different examples. The Rebbe doesn't answer why the Alter Rebbe chose other examples. Mesalsel Besaide, different examples the Alter Rebbe brings of mitzvah, Vedas that never happened. Okay, so now getting back to the neshama. So then the Rebbe continues. So mekivin shebeyes neshama, move on. That since the neshama the mailas ain't even see as klal, move on. Gedel mailas madrigos hasham. From this we understand the great level of her madriga. Then the neshama comes down lamata, comes down in a level which is nothing lower than that. Haderech, like we mentioned earlier, bira mikta, a deep ditch, nothing lower than that. Every world of the four worlds, Frat Elam Asiya has Gashmis. It's called, there's Asiya Ruchnis, there's Asiya Gashmis. We're speaking here about the Elam Asiya Gashmis, this physical world. Vishom Gufa, and there in particular, Harei Mislabeshes Begufa Gashmi Vachumri. It encloses in the physical body, and Chumri, there is even lower than Gashmis. Physical body, the Gashmi is a certain yonim that a person in a very legitimate way needs. Eating, drinking, sleeping, his needs, the physical needs in Elam Hazagashmi. Then there's inyanim which are even which are considered thicker in comparison to him, that is not even appropriate for him.